Hey guys, Chickadee Maine, aka Deboo, Deboo.com with the Deboo.com Surf Forecast Update. This forecast update effective around 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on March 6, 2015. And going to start you off over here in the northeast central Pacific as an area of low pressure is forecast to develop north of the Hawaiian Islands. It looks like it's going to be a long swell duration event for the islands coming up. We're going to do a separate forecast update on that. So for you folks that may be going over to Hawaii, have friends in Hawaii, you might want to tune them in on the forecast. Wanted to show you this other area of low pressure, this hurricane force low that is east of the southern tip of Greenland. This has moved up into this region over the last 72 hours. And you can see that the trailing cold front leads all the way down in here towards the Gulf of Mexico. Not sure if you can see my cursor moving around in here, but we've got this area of low pressure in the northeast Pacific, northeast central Pacific, this hurricane force low now east of the southern tip of Greenland, and that's going to put our focus down in here towards the Gulf of Mexico. Now, during tropical season, we always go by the rule of thumb, and that is always watch the tail ends of fronts or along stalled fronts for an area of low pressure to develop. And this pattern is going to offer up a split pattern, and this should allow, as high pressure starts to build in next week, allow a push of an area of low pressure out of the Bay of Campeche or off the east coast of Texas and allow it to move northeast. Now, in previous runs, model runs earlier, for those of you who follow us on Facebook, Twitter, in our last update, talking about a rare tropical low in the Gulf of Mexico, the previous runs were moving it towards the panhandle and then towards the Outer Banks and then off into a northeast direction. The runs in the last several days want to lift it due north, and this could be the influence of that split that we're talking about between these two areas of low pressure over of Greenland and in the East Pacific, northeast central Pacific. So here's what it looks like on the goes, and you can already see down here in the Bay of Campeche, Southwest Caribbean, and then there was a previous area of low pressure that was just to the west of Baja that has kind of moved in towards the coast. It's a little bit of a remnant low, but all of this is being drawn into the Gulf of Mexico with high pressure trade winds pushing what's coming in here towards the Southwest Caribbean, and this is all going to converge in here. Here's what it looks like in the latest GFS model run, starting you off for Saturday. Strong northeast fetch all the way from the Outer Banks all the way down in here to the Bay of Campeche and the Gulf of Tehuantepec. Seas are forecast in the Bay of Campeche over the next 24 hours, 18 to 20 feet and 20 to 25 feet over here on the East Pacific side. As we walk you through the model run, you'll see that later on Saturday, the northeast fetch kind of stays elongated, but it starts to lighten up a little bit. And you see an area of low pressure down in here in the Bay of Campeche. Moving you out to Sunday, winds start to die off. Here's where that fun surf alert we talked about in our last update setting up for southeast states comes in. That northeast predominant fetch should get seas elevated 8 to 10 feet over the next 24 to 48 hours. And with the winds backing off on Sunday, look for some possible fun surf alert conditions at the right tides and locations. Moving you out to 72 hours on Monday, notice how we transition now into easterly trade wind east of the islands, and then a southeast wind in here, aimed in here at Florida and through the Gulf of Mexico. Pressure's kind of relaxed a little bit in here towards Monday, but as we get in further into the week, this is going to be Tuesday now. Notice how the southeast gradient through the Bahamas in here starts to tighten up, and low pressure once again starts to develop over here in the western Gulf of Mexico. Moving you out to Wednesday, you can see that we still have this east-southeast trade wind swell developing out here east of the islands with some southeast wind flow through the Bahamas, and again, low pressure maintaining in the Bay of Campeche. Moving you out to Thursday, you can see that starts to develop, and as this starts to develop, high pressure on Friday starts to build in. This could be a good shot as some northeast ground swell coming for Puerto Rico and the islands. Could be the last shot of winter swell coming of the season for the islands as we transition into spring. But notice the strong southeast fetch now that's setting up off the southeast coast. This could be setting up our first southeast groundswell of the spring season coming up. Again, low pressure developing in the western GOMEX now and lifting up towards the north. This is going to increase some south-southeast winds over here for Panhandle beaches, creating possible surf alert conditions, especially since there's a lot of uncertainty on whether or not this area of low pressure, although the models have trended negative in the last several runs on development, they were showing a little bit deeper down in here towards the Bay of Campeche before it developed, which would have increased seas and surf along Panhandle beaches coming up for next weekend. Now look at this for Saturday and Sunday. Saturday and Sunday, again, increased southeast fetch now coming up in here, and it gets a little bit deeper running out here past the islands. Still a strong northerly flow coming in here off Nova Scotia and Labrador, aimed in here at Puerto Rico. So that swell could hold, but then transition into an east-southeast trade wind swell, ground swell mix in here coming up next weekend. Looking at the latest rain forecast, guys, it looks like that we could get into a heavy rain scenario with this area of low pressure coming out of the Gulf of Mexico. This starts you off at about midweek, and as you can see, the model lifts it towards the north of Louisiana, spreading heavy rains through the southeast states. Now, as it starts to tighten up, this could be another major winter storm setting up for the Northeast. Just as a reminder, guys, some of the biggest snowstorms in history happened in the month of March. That's all we got for you for now, guys. Stay tuned for the next update.